Welcome back to Watching the Throne on the Late Night Chat Network, episode 80. Welcome back, everybody, to Watching the Throne on the Late Night Chat Network. I'm your host, Nico, aka Hand of the King, here today. And of course, to my right here is King Viserys. There you go. JT. I just noticed I'm
He's
your
my
hand.
right-hand man.
I got to change
Feel sorry for you.
And of course, our other co-host here, we got Amen's Eye, Christina, here joining us today. How you doing? He looks like a nasty motherfucker when he gets that eye slit after, right? I mean, that's jumping ahead an
So
episode.
cool.
But that
Yeah.
his look is like he's like a future Damon. You know what I mean? Like he looks more badass than he does when he's got that eye patch and the messed up eye.
100%.
Yeah,
Mhm.
for sure. So, but
Mhm.
yeah, welcome back, everybody. This is our Game of Thrones review show, overview show, where we kind of go back and we do a deep dive conversation, watching episode by episode. We started all the way at season 1, episode 1 of Game of Thrones on this show. Christina has joined us many times in the past for Game of Thrones, and she's basically been our third co-host here for the all of the final season of Game of Thrones, as well as this first season of House of the Dragon. And you can watch Christina join us once again with the new season of House of Dragon that'll be coming up and just in a few weeks. But well, by the time this airs, it'll be in just a week or two, actually. This episode, because we're kind of trying to get these out in time for the new season of House of the Dragon as we pre-record these. So yeah, really exciting. That's Sunday, June 16th, and we were just kind of discussing what we're planning on doing for those episodes. So stay tuned. Make sure you follow us on Instagram, where we kind of will be posting about those episodes. Those will be, I think we're going to be doing those episodes live, and I think we'll be opening it up to kind of like a more of like a round table, kind of like a small council type. Yeah, maybe that's what we'll say. It'll be like our small council, essentially. Like
Balls not included.
yeah, exactly. Of viewers, basically, that hopefully open it up for other people to try to come and join us for a discussion. We're doing those episodes live, probably a day or two after they actually air. So yeah, make sure to tune in for that because it is an event for us. As you can see, we're all big fans of the show. We've been having a fun time doing these, and we're trying to crank these out in time for the new season of House of the Dragon. And also, these last few episodes will be dropping every Tuesday and Thursday on the Late Night Chat Network at 8 p.m. So make sure to follow us on Instagram at Late Night Chat Network to be up to date with that. Or you can also just press the notification bell on YouTube to be notified of when these shows do go out every time they do get aired. So yeah, great stuff.
Yeah.
Make sure to like and subscribe, all that good stuff. And Christina is actually going to be taking over as Maester Stats here today. Basically, will be guiding us through the episode using the synopsis that we pulled offline for this episode.
Mhm.
And the episode that we're going to be discussing today is Driftmark, House of the Dragon, Season 1, Episode 7.
Woo,
So,
woo.
yeah, unless there's anything else.
Kudos to Nico for hitting all the check marks today with all the
I was thinking it
Holy.
was a smooth fly.
It
through,
was.
man.
It
like,
was a better
nice.
kind of intro that I normally do. I was supposed to
Nice.
pat myself on the back. Oh, thank you.
Well, we're
That's
patting you
why
on
I
the back
named you
virtually.
That's why I named you Hand of myself, bro.
There you go. Thank you. That's right.
You're Jay's right hand.
Yeah. So there you go.
Exactly.
Sometimes it's better than most when I kind of give that intro, right? Sometimes I'm all over the place. So it's always nice when you can do a good job with that. So yeah. But yeah, without further ado, though, I'll hand it over to Christina to kind of take us through the episode here, and the usual questions we start off with at the top.
Yeah, so let's just get into it. Straight off the top, first thoughts? Any thoughts? Nico?
This is possibly the most grim episode of the season so far. I didn't know if it was going to get any more grim than certain episodes previous to this, like where there was some darker themes that we've commented on. But this was a fucking grim episode, like grim. Like I was just like like just doom and gloom like throughout like this episode. It was a good episode. I liked it.
Yeah.
It definitely was. I think like even with the grim opening of the episode, but then like it just kind of continued throughout. I thought like this was just yeah, there's like no light in this
What
in
about
this
you,
one.
Jay?
It left people, I would say, guessing of what's coming next. In a sense, people were leaving, people were coming. No pun intended. Sorry, I always say point, but yeah, you know, new things were happening, and it's just a lot to take in because it's happening. So I feel like it's happening quickly as well, like as a Game of Thrones thing. So, but yeah, no, it's great, and it was a great episode all around, and it's just weird now getting used to it as an older princess, if you want to say, or what is it now? Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
no,
just
this
weird.
episode, next episode, great. Probably the best episodes of the entire season. Like this one,
Ooh,
the next one for sure, hands down. Especially the next one. I love the next one so much.
the next one's very good.
But
Yeah, but
this one was like
the
really
best
good.
the best combination of two episodes that we had so far, though. Yeah, it's
Because all about women being bitchy. That's why. Sorry.
I think it's just it has a lot of the same themes, but there's just so much that happens that like is all exciting. Like I understand, I know what you're saying when this episode being super grim and
Mhm.
like really dark and really depressing and really like,
yeah.
like oh god, what's gonna happen? But all also dark in like tone too. Like
Hmm.
there was a lot of like dark scenes, a lot of like I don't know, but
Yeah,
um yeah, I love this episode. Next episode, I'm so excited that
they had these ones. Yeah, absolutely.
yeah.
No, they're good ones, and yeah, you may be right about the best two that we've actually done. And a peek behind the curtain, we do try to kind of bank a couple of these episodes at a time and watch a couple of episodes, everybody. But like so that's why we can normally comment on even the next one when we record these things. But yeah, you're probably right. And not to say that what me saying it was grim was that they were bad. This was bad. It
No,
was
no.
definitely dark. Like I was just like, yeah, it's just there's just not a lot of hope. I feel like for these characters at this time, and they're going through a lot of stuff. Obviously, there's a lot of major, like you said, major things happening, right, to everybody, right, and
Yep.
family drama between these two episodes. It's just it cranked it right up to 100, right? Like it's just like
It reminds me
whoa,
of Christmas.
yeah. But
Yeah,
that's
right?
those are my favorite moments though. Like when you get
Yeah.
everybody together and there's like this underlying tone of like you can cut the, you know what I mean? You can cut the tension in the
Tensions.
room. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Like it's just holy fuck. Like those moments.
I
That's
know.
the
It
best
kinda
parts of
made
Game
just
of
it
Thrones.
made me feel like I was part of it, like I was, like, a background character in this scene. Well, in the scene that we'll talk about because it was like, "Oh, man, like,
Yeah.
what the hell?" Anyways, but yeah, I agree with Jay also, it does sometimes feel like Christmas, like, when you have a big family, like, you kinda get it,
Sure.
like
You know, or any
but
other family get together, that involves food. So,
oh, man. Okay.
oh,
So we'll just get started. So the
Sure.
opening scene opens up in at Driftmark. We are with King Viserys and his entire royal court. They are attending the funeral of Lena Valerion. If we remember from last episode, during childbirth, she was not going to survive it. Baby was not going to survive it, more than likely. So she asked her dragon, Vagar, to burn her. And so we are now at her funeral. Her uncle, Vaemond Valerion, delivers the eulogy in High Valyrian, which includes several pointed remarks about Valyrian blood remaining pure. While he's saying this, he's glancing at Rhaenyra and her children, who supposedly or allegedly are Laenor Valyrian's sons, but they look nothing
Yeah.
like him. So Lena's husband, who is Daemon Targaryen, he's somber at her death. He can't help but start giggling when Vaemond, his pettiness, is brought up. So inappropriate. Like it's his wife's funeral, and he's laughing. But I think the scene in itself was so sad, and it was very cool to see how they send off. they're dead to me. It was basically her casket was basically like pulleyed into the ocean because they are masters of the sea. So that's also happening as Vaemond is delivering this eulogy. Um, the ceremony ends with Lena's stone sarcophagus being dropped over a coastal cliff into the sea to rest beside her ancestors.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, yeah.
I actually cried. I'm not gonna lie. Like I teared up a little bit. I've
This
seen this scene.
scene?
Like I don't know. There's something about seeing it this time. Like I teared up. Like it was really emotional.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
It wasn't this scene for me, but there was another scene where I kind of felt that way. I can't remember which episode it is, but yeah, well, I'll mention it when it comes up to it. I don't know if I actually teared up, but I came close to it. I think at one of the parts in one of these episodes because, yeah, like I said, it is an emotional episode, and you know, to open up with a funeral proceeding is never like, you know what I mean.
No.
Never
It
great.
seems like we do that. We either close off with one or open up with one in these
Yeah.
shows,
No
bro.
kidding.
Yeah.
So the next scene, the bereaved court gathers at the cliffside courtyard at the castle for a wake. Lots of long, awkward silences, strained conversations. It kind of flips back and forth between different characters and their conversations. So, um, this event forced Rhaenyra and Alicent Hightower's families to meet in one place again, right after Rhaenyra removed herself from King's Landing and went to Dragonstone. Obviously, due to the rumors, which are accurate, but rumors
Yeah.
of the legitimacy of her sons.
Mhm.
Um, Lena's death has spurred Damon to return to Westeros. He was in Pentos
Mhm.
for the first time in a decade, along with his daughters by Lena, who have never met the rest of their family. Also gathered at the castle for the funeral. For the funeral are all of the dragons currently bonded to riders. Um, yeah, so that's also a big deal. Like this, they're all there as well. So that's you
Yeah.
know pretty interesting. Lena's dragon Vagar. Obviously, I guess dragons feel the emotions of their riders. Like we saw with Drogon and Daenerys. He's or she is because Vagar's a girl is bereaved and she's alone herself, like on the beach somewhere. She's not with the other dragons in the dragon pit.
Mm.
Um, Alicent and her supporters are the only ones who've gained from recent events. Uh, Laris Strong, who is kind of the new master of whispers,
Yeah.
secretly had his own father and brother, Harwin and Lionel Strong, killed in a fire. So he's now made the Lord of Harrenhal. And Alicent's father, Otto Hightower, has returned and has taken place as
Yeah.
Hand of the King. So that was also new that we saw in this scene. Like we saw him with his pin, and he made a very obvious, like,
Yeah. I'm back.
jostle of the pin. Yeah.
I'm back, bitches. Which I'm really
Yeah.
happy about. I like Otto a lot, so I'm glad they figured it out a way to bring him back, I guess, in that sense, right? But
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
What if he drives a
Um,
bus?
Rhaenyra's
Yeah.
oldest son, Jacaerys or Jace, he's old enough to realize that Harwin was his father. In the last episode, he had asked her point blank, "Is he my father?" And she didn't deny it. She didn't confirm it. She just skipped over it. But he's old
Mhm.
enough to know that his father is Harwin Strong, and privately tells his mother how upsetting it is that he can't openly mourn him without drawing suspicion to themselves, which is, you know,
Sucks.
I feel so bad for her fucking kids. Between this and the events that take place in the next episode, I feel so bad for these fucking kids. Like just because of who they are, they
Bastards.
like yeah, because of their
it's not their
bastards.
fault, and it's so
No.
typical. Like the kids always get
Pay
shit
the
on
prices, pay the price for the sins of
for the
the yeah,
parents,
exactly.
For
right?
the
How it
Yeah.
goes.
parents.
No, it's just it sucks. It's just like it's nothing that they had a choice in. And
Yeah, I know.
it's just really like I just like how everyone just continues to shit on them left and right,
Yeah.
or give them dirty looks and be like, "These are fucking." Well, it's true. I mean, it's true, but it just sucks. I feel bad for them. So
Yeah.
Yeah, straight up.
Yeah. Um, so as that little scene is kind of ending, the next scene is with Corlys Valerion. He goes up to Lucerys or Luke,
Mm,
Rhaenyra's second son, and explains that because Jace will one day inherit the Iron Throne, Luke will one day inherit his own title as Lord of the Tides and head of House Valerion. Luke tearfully says that he doesn't want it because he would only become Lord of Driftmark after Laenor and Corlys were dead. Which is really like that's also really grim. He's a little boy
It
and
was
he's like,
sad. It's like he knew it.
he already understands death. Like it's just sad.
yeah.
Come,
Um,
they gotta grow up fast, man. They're having sex when they're 13, man. Come on.
Lena's traumatized daughters, Bela and Reina. And again, these names, they're all the same. So if nobody can follow along, you're not alone. You're not
Yeah.
alone.
Yeah. It's true.
Um, they meet their grandmother, Rhaenys, for the
Mhm.
first time, and she consoles them. Rhaenyra tells Jace that despite their private loss of Harwin, he should go and comfort his cousins. Jace walks over, but no one knows what to say, so Bela and Jace just silently hold hands. Rhaenys glares at Jace and Luke, who she knows are not really her biological grandchildren. Laenor himself is stunned by his sister's tragic death and has waded out into the surf of the beach below to be closer to her resting place. Corlys angrily tells Laenor's lover, Carl Corey, to
Mhm.
retrieve his patron from his embarrassing behavior.
Yeah. I
So, like,
yeah.
everything that's happening here in this scene is like so it's extra awkward because there's no other sound happening around. So all of these conversations are happening and it's like pin drop silent
Yeah.
except for the waves crashing up against the like rocks. It's
That's a good observation. No, I know, and yeah, that's true. That's true. I was gonna point out the fact that I think what this scene really captured was how did like a family you're not that close with or you don't see all too often when you're forced into a social situation like this, like a funeral or something else, how awkward it can get real quick, and how like there's distant family members where you may have met like once, and then you're like you said, you're seeing people that have been meeting each other for the first time and their cousins, and all that kind of stuff. I think they really did a good job of capturing that human like social interaction. I think that even we can relate to, despite this being a fantasy type show, right? So yeah, I think they capture that really well at the funeral scene here. But that's that. I didn't realize the sound thing. You're right though about that. That's so true. It kind of really built the tension up between some of these moments as well, right? As a result.
Well,
Jay.
sometimes you don't have to say much to get a lot of expression or emotion out, and then nothing has to be said. I mean, you see that in a lot of films. And if the actors are good and they know what they're doing, you'll know and how they're feeling, and what their mind thought might be at that moment too, because everybody's got their own thing going in their heads too right now as well.
Mhm.
Right. So
yeah, I hate small talk. So when I have to interact with like people that
tricky.
I haven't seen in a long time or I'm not comfortable with, I hate it. I hate that
I
like
love it.
fake like how have you been? Oh, okay, great. Yeah.
Yeah, that's where JT lives in the awkwardness. He's like he's
Like
all about it.
f-
Yeah. Some
fine
people
weather we're
thrive off it.
having. Oh,
Some
I
people
hate
thrive
it.
off of
Oh
it, but
man.
yeah, I know I hate it too. It just kind of feels like a forced interaction of sorts, right? Because it
Most
is.
of my friends hate it. It's so funny though.
I'm also
That's
an
the best thing about it.
oversharer, so like I love to share every stupid detail about my life.
Well,
Right.
we've noticed about this show. No, ad libbing over here. Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
losing.
I
I'm
I'm
losing my train of like my.
No, it's good that she's
No, I
paraphrasing.
know, I
Shut the
know.
fuck up
Oh,
over.
she's great, man. No, she's great. I'm just messing with her.
Just because you can't keep track doesn't mean like we're not all on
Okay,
track.
enough of
oh,
this
because
small
I'm not
talk. All right, let's
following the
get into
words
this.
Yeah,
exactly. Is that what he's like
gotcha.
talking? Oh, okay, okay.
No, you've been doing a great job. Don't listen to this guy. Moving on.
Moving on.
Enough of the small
Okay, so
talk, right?
oh man. Okay, so Allison's children, so we're still on the same like funeral procession. Allison's children are also present but detached from the events. Aegon is visibly bored and gets increasingly drunk
Hmm.
on wine that's being passed around and he's eyeing up these servant girls. Really gross.
It's both me and Nico look up at the same time. You know, it's kind of weird. That was kind of weird, Nico.
Yeah, he's such a
I am your hand.
Well, that's true. Thanks, bro.
Helena is infatuated with capturing a spider while muttering cryptically to herself about dragons of flesh, weaving threads of green and black. Aegon remarks to his younger brother Aemon that he is annoyed their mother recently announced he is betrothed to marry his sister, Helena, because he thinks she's an idiot. Uh,
I mean, she's kind of dull. There's a couple of scenes where I don't know.
Yeah.
I know, right? But I don't know.
There's just something missing about it. I know.
Allison apparently announced this union right after declining Rhaenyra's suggestion to betroth Helena to her son Jace. Aemond responds that if he was betrothed to Helena, he would fulfill his duty, and Aegon shouldn't insult his future queen. So strange. They're brother and sister, and you're talking about your wife and getting married. It's just weird. Weird,
There's a
weird,
And
weird.
lot of
doing the
that going
duty
on.
and doing the
Yeah.
duty.
I mean, like, it's so normal, I think, for us to talk about now because we've been dealing with the entire show. And, anyways, but it's just weird. It's just strange.
Oh,
Aemond is the only one of Allison's family to show even a hint of sympathy for the Valerian side of the family when he briefly glances over at the grieving Bela and Jace and considers saying something, but he silently backs away.
such a shy guy.
King Viserys goes to speak to his brother Daemon, who he exiled for a second time a decade ago. Viserys still loves Daemon and asks him to return home to King's Landing and let their prior differences stay in the past. But Daemon says that his home is in Pentos, and that is also home of his children. Viserys urges that there is no place for Daemon that other than at his side in royal court, and offers Daemon anything that he needs, but he cuts him off. He's not Daemon's not comfortable expressing grief. Um, he says he doesn't need anything and turns to leave. Otto Hightower, who's now the Hand of the King, offers a token of condolence to Daemon, but Daemon just glares back at him and says he that a leech's hunger is never satisfied. Throughout this, Rhaenyra eyes her uncle Daemon from across the courtyard, whom she was once infatuated with until he abruptly left 10 years ago. So, I don't know. Again, like this stereotype, like Viserys is looking worse for wear.
Yeah.
Again, like he's just deteriorating even more. Um, yeah, and he's just showing weakness. Like he just can't keep, like, if
Yeah.
you've exiled his brother twice and he's like still now asking him to come back again, like really.
There was
Anyways.
I mean, again, this is something I think they made more clear in the next episode, but there's definitely some of his decisions, and I think they've commented on this before, like some of his decisions, while they seem like they're the right decisions to make, like in the moment, actually do worse for the people around him in the long run, and like he actually inadvertently causes a lot of the rifts and drama within his own family and kingdoms as a result of his decision making, which I don't think I gave him enough credit for being a part of previous to this. Like I thought he was always just trying to do best by his family and all this kind of stuff, but there's a lot of things that he could have done a better job of, like not leaving just lingering issues, like, and then kind of like a stepping away. You know what I mean? Like there's a lot of
Yeah,
things
for
that
sure.
he definitely plays a part in.
Mhm.
More so reference in the next episode where I'm just like, yeah, you know what? Like this is your fault. Like this shit that's going on right now. Like a lot of this stuff is because you just handled this poorly. You may have made the right decision or what you thought was, you know what I mean? Like the best thing in that moment or like whatever his intentions, but it's just he made some bad decisions and like
100%.
yeah. So
Made
So this,
the wrong moves on the board.
yeah,
yeah,
for sure. The skies begin to darken as dusk arrives and everyone begins to retire for the evening. Viserys is exhausted, and Lena's death in childbirth clearly reminds him of Emma, his first wife's similar death years before. And with her on his mind, he accidentally says to Alicent, "I'm going to bed, Emma." And Sir Harold Westerling gently corrects him by asking, "Shall I see after Queen Alicent, your grace?" Alicent is quietly unnerved by this, but gathering all the children to leave, Aegon has passed out drunk in his stairway from all the wine he was drinking. So his grandfather and Hand of the King, Otto, gives him a swift kick and drags him to his feet.
That guy sucks. This kid.
He's the best. What are you talking about?
No,
He's hilarious.
yeah.
The worst.
It's like
Yeah.
this uncle, man.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
a younger version.
So, and the next scene, we're still on Driftmark, but now we're inside the High Tide, I guess, the castle there. We're in front of the fireplace with Corlys and Rhaenys, and they're having a very tense discussion. I mean, obviously they both lost their daughter, but Rhaenys complained that Laena wanted to return to Westeros to be with her family, but Daemon opposed it and wonders if their own maesters had attended Laena's childbirth, would she have survived? Corlys assures that the surgeons in Pentos are well trained and that she should not lay blame on them for that, but call this an act of God, an act of the gods. Sorry. Rhaenys says she wonders if the gods were punishing them for their pride and calls out Corlys for his attempts to put a Valyrian on the Iron Throne. Corlys says that as a loyal husband, he wants to restore what was taken from Rhaenys at the Great Council of 101 AC. But she sharply observes that it wasn't her right, but his own ambition, which he wanted to fulfill. Not denying it, but reflective, Corlys stares into the fireplace and gravely ponders what his brief mortal life is, if not the pursuit of legacy. Rhaenys then comes to the point. She wants rule of Driftmark to pass to Laena's elder daughter, Baela, instead of to Luke. Here in private, she tells Corlys that they should drop all pretenses and that they both know that Laenor is not the real father of Rhaenyra's sons and that they are not of Valyrian blood. She doesn't care about the Iron Throne and is even open to Jace inheriting it someday, as it would still be through his mother, but she wants him to declare Baela heir of Driftmark instead of Luke while the royal court is still all gathered at their castle. Corlys says he can't bring himself to put a darker shadow over the innocent boys, his assumed grandchildren.
Yeah.
Oh my god, I lost my spot. As disinheriting Luke for Baela would immediately cast doubt on Jace's inheritance to the Iron Throne. It's all a clusterfuck of
It's getting messy now.
it's getting so messy now, right? But Rhaenys says that Laena's daughters are her legacy and they must honor that. But Corlys says the history does not remember blood; it remembers names.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean it's a lot to follow, but the problem is like this is all spiraling out now into their lineage, like their kids now, and none of those parents are actually on the throne as of yet as well. Like so,
Yeah.
the fact that they're already trying to figure out next heirs to the throne before any of them are actually on the throne just makes it again like even messier in that sense, because it's just like it's true they got to plan ahead I guess at this point, but like to even assume anything at this point after Viserys has already made it fucking clear that Rhaenyra is supposed to be his heir, like the you know what I mean, like it's kind of
it's just messy. I don't know. I mean, like I feel like Rhaenyra is obviously to blame here. Rhaenyra and Laenor are obviously to blame here, like because they kind of like they created this mess, you know, like with this like false marriage. But like, I don't know. I don't know. It's just a mess. But this conversation, I feel, was a very like you said earlier, like even though this is a fantasy world, this is a very real conversation that
sure.
people have now, like
Sure.
today.
Yeah, absolutely.
Maybe not
Right?
as many, but yeah, the same sort of situations
Yeah, I
arise
feel
all
like
the time.
people like care more about names, like family names, than they do bloodlines. Like, you know, like It's
Well,
all,
nobody
I
knows
don't
any of
know.
their bloodlines. That's where they check the history, DNA. Nobody knows.
Oh, now,
Everybody
yeah,
just
now it
we're
is
all,
like that.
you know what
But
I mean? We're
anyways,
all white.
I don't know. It was just a very real conversation, and
Mhm.
yeah. Um, the next scene again, dark. They're out. It's outside the castle now. Rhaenyra and Daemon are taking a moonlit walk along the beach, talking through their recent mutual losses and their tension at being apart for a decade. Rhaenyra worries that Laenor is so bereaved that he'll be useless to her now. They both knew their marriage was a farce, but at least she put in effort into maintaining appearances. Rhaenyra explains that she and Laenor actually did try to conceive children several times, but to no avail. And thus she had three sons, who she conceived, or who she said are all Harwins.
Mhm.
Rhaenyra worries that she should have forbidden Harwin from returning to the Riverlands, as she believes in the curse said to have been over Harrenhal since Aegon's conquest. I don't, anyways. Damon scoffs that the alleged curse is just superstition that Otto or Alicent would gladly exploit, though Rhaenyra says she doesn't think Alicent herself of capable of
Mhm.
cold blooded murder. Rhaenyra moves on to accuse Daemon of abandoning her for 10 years, leaving when she was just a child and needed him. But Daemon says he left because she was a child. He was sparring her for the dangers of being around him. Sparing her, not sparring, sparing her from the dangers of being around him. Rhaenyra tells him to look at how her life played out without him, and she asks if he really loved Lena. He says that they were happy enough, which Rhaenyra says in and of itself is a great achievement in this world. She said she's sorry for his loss, but tells her, um, but he tells her she shouldn't be, because at least he is allowed to publicly mourn Lena in a way she can't publicly mourn
Mhm.
Harwin.
Mhm.
Consoling each other in their shared grief, Rhaenyra pulls Daemon closer and says she isn't a child anymore, and begins to kiss him. They take shelter in a nearby shipwreck and disrobe each other by moonlight and
Dun,
proceed to
dun, dun.
tenderly make love.
I mean
And
that they
that's why I
do.
changed my name.
That they do. They yeah, your on screen name. Yeah, it is a tenderly love scene for sure. I would say the way it's shot, but I you know what, these people aren't happy. These two people, as messed up as it is to say, it seems like they could find some happiness with one another. So like given this how commonplace it is on this show for all this incestual type behavior, I don't know why these people aren't together after everything that they've been through at this point. You know what I mean? Like it just seems like they're putting on these farce marriages after far, like, you know what I mean, these on both sides. He keeps marrying people. Like I get that they need to strengthen lines and align with people and all this other shit, but like they're not happy. Neither of them are happy, right? Like you can tell, like they're so unhappy, these people, and about certain aspects of their lives. And this is right there in front of them. So like I think it was inevitable that these two would ended up hooking up on this show. Like, and the fact that it took them, I don't know how many fucking years now, like from the first time that
10.
since the brothel there, the pleasure house, right? Then I'm actually surprised, to be honest with you. So
Yeah, this time it really happened though.
yes, it did. Yeah.
Yeah. I agree with you. I think they were destined to be together, but I think it's like things needed to happen for them to come together, because if they had gotten together when she was a quote unquote child, even though she was 17 or whatever, like she's still young, inexperienced and whatnot, I think it would have sent ripples greater than
Sure.
anything at that time. Like, because, she was still young and impressionable and had like options, right?
Yeah.
I
Oh,
don't know. I
but
so find I find it really, you shouldn't be thinking like that. I mean, you're always gonna be happy with a family member in the sense that you're gonna be really, connected in that sense, but not all the way like this. This is a
I
little much,
guess, and I
and
mean,
I'm
like,
saying
I
this.
don't
This is
know.
JT. It
It's
is
just,
weird.
it's weird. It's so weird. I mean,
we
I
have
don't
to accept
know.
these themes about this show,
I
though.
know.
Yeah.
I know it
We
is
can't say
fantasy
you
too,
have.
right? I know.
Well, no, but it's just we know this to be
Reality
fact that this is
fantasy.
the way things were done in this family at this time on this show. So you gotta kind of move
Oh, I know.
forward with that aspect of it, right? Like I get it. It's
Yeah.
like it's not what anybody is cool with, obviously, but
No,
it's part of
no.
the show, right? So and I
Yeah.
know when
Obviously.
you explain that to some people that don't watch the show, that is like their first understanding. Some
Eh,
people, you get some like eyebrows. You're like, really? Like, what's going on in this? Like, this is the show you like, right?
yeah.
No,
They're just
you know
like,
when I
okay,
get that
yeah.
is when we talk. Like I don't mind it while I'm watching it because I don't picture it. I'm just picturing two actors. But I mean, when we talk about it like this, then we know it's a little bit different, right? In my head, I don't know why it plays out weirder when we talk and discuss it.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
I don't know.
we gotta describe
Yeah,
these things at length,
yeah.
right?
You
So
know what I mean?
Yeah, when you're
So
watching it, you can kind of disassociate that they're
that's right.
uncle and niece, but when you're
and use
talking
my
about it,
hand, man.
Yeah, because now it's like you're the one on screen talking about this. You're like, oh yeah, it's not so bad. It's like you're representing this aspect of the show now. No, I get it. Like, right? So, yeah. Anyways, we should put one of those banners up on the our views do not align with the views of House of the
yeah, we
Dragons.
Yeah,
probably should.
not 100% at least.
Weird.
Look at the, you have to click on that little, do you agree, and then read the terms, and it'll tell us what we agree on and what we don't agree on with.
Or just be a normal person, just hit agree and not read any of the terms and
Yeah,
conditions.
exactly.
Most of
Just
the time.
scroll to the bottom. Yep. That's good.
I know, that's me, man.
Yeah,
I do that
that's a
all the
lot of
time.
people. That's a lot of
That's like I
people.
think 99.9% of the
Yeah.
population. Who's got time?
Wow.
Nobody. Who cares?
Oh boy.
Oh, sorry. I
Uh,
had to loosen that up a bit there. But yeah, just to let you know how if I feel about it. Like, I'm not, I make jokes, but yeah, it's kind of disgusting. I don't know if it's just now because I have a niece. I don't know, man, and two of them. Sorry. So, yeah, it's kind of fucking weird for me.
Yeah.
Don't even get me started. There's a
um,
whole nother topic here. I don't even know.
You're
You
the one
don't even know where I'm
disclosing all
going. I
this.
know.
you're
We're
just keep
trying to,
going. You're
yeah,
just
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
we're
Just
trying
keep
to move
going.
on here. Yeah. Yeah,
That's
exactly.
it, no? Great minds, Christina. There you go.
So the next scene, same night, it's still nighttime, but a different part of the beach. Young Aemond Targaryen has snuck out of the castle and found Laena's dragon Vagar asleep in the dunes or in the sand.
Mhm.
Um, nearly the size of a sand dune herself. Vagar is the oldest and largest living dragon, twice the
Yeah,
size of even Caraxes, and the last of the original three dragons from the
yeah,
Targaryen conquest.
yeah.
So I
Crazy.
think she's like Balerion the Dread's sister, or like they were from the same like hatchery or something. Anyways, Aemond approaches cautiously and puts a hand on the rope netting leading up to her saddle. Vagar awakens and senses that he is a prince of Targaryen blood and backs down. But Aemon puts his hand on the rope again and starts to actually try to mount Vagar. However, at which she growls and starts to building up fire in the back of her throat. Um, Aemon bravely stands his ground and firmly gives commands in a hoarse firmly gives commands like in a hoarse like voice and shouts verbal commands in High Valyrian to Vagar to heal and obey. Uh, None can know the mind of a dragon, but after a mysterious amount of time, she relents and allows him to climb to her saddle. He then gives her the order to fly, and she launches into the night sky. Aemon nearly falls off the saddle several times because he isn't properly secured, but eventually he manages to level out and master the flight, taking Vagar on a circle around the castle before landing again, a bonded dragon rider.
Yeah, that was kind of sweet, eh?
This
And
scene was
he's the
intense.
only one without the horse saddle, the dragon saddle. He's the only one, it's kind of
Yeah.
like watching the Game of Thrones there,
Yeah,
right?
he doesn't have a dragon. His dragon egg never hatched at birth. So he doesn't have one and Vagar is now without a rider, so he's seized his opportunity. And that this scene was intense to me. I'm like,
Yeah,
"Oh my god."
yeah.
Can you
I
imagine get
Cuz
eaten by that thing?
Vagar looks mean and old and crusty and like, oh boy, like she's like old.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I love all the dragon shit on this show. Like that's and then yeah, like to your point, it is nice to see that there's different types of dragons, different types of personalities. Like that's I eat that shit up. If they did more dragon and stuff in the show, I wouldn't have been mad at it. You know what I mean? Like it's literally called House of the
No,
Dragon.
yeah,
Give me all the dragon stuff. I'm here for
Yeah.
all of it, right? I'm here for all that stuff. So like
Yeah.
obviously you need the interactions of all these families and everything else like that we've come to expect from Game of Thrones. But that is the extra bit about this show. I think that really sets it apart from Game
Yes.
of Thrones, and
mm,
and that's why I get why Jay watched this show first and got interested finally to watch Game of Thrones based on this. It actually is a good way about going about it in that sense. I will say that, like
different. Yeah,
it's a
different way.
little
It's
bit
kind of
more
neat.
exciting certain aspects about this show more so than Game of Thrones with the dragon stuff. I'll say, but I will say what this show lacks that the other one doesn't is the relationship, getting to know these characters. I think with all the time jumps that we have in this show so far, you really haven't gotten to know these characters in like the same way
No.
I think that you have with
No.
the people on Game of Thrones, right?
No,
So
you've just learned like the bare minimum that you need to learn about these characters. And maybe that's why they keep hitting these points home. Like they keep repeating the same thing, even though it's been like 20 years, like
yeah,
the same things, because it's like they can't focus on character development. They have
yeah,
to worry about story development.
exactly. That's the huge difference, honestly,
Yeah.
that I really came to realize watching these episodes that we were here to
Yeah,
discuss.
these ones, right?
Yep.
As he's soaring through the sky and whatnot, Bela and Reyna, who are L- Lena and Damon's daughters. My God, there's so many Anas. It's like fee fi oena. Anyways, they Bela and Reyna, they noticed that someone stole Vagar and wake Jace and Luke to come and investigate. The four younger children intercept Aemond just as he is returning to the castle through the tunnel leading to the beach. Reyna angrily says Vagar was her mother's dragon and hers to claim, but Aemon says that if she wanted her, she would have claimed her already. Now
Mm-mm.
filled with boundless confidence of mastering not just any dragon, but the largest in the world, Aemon says that if she wants a dragon of her own, she can ask Rhaenyra's sons to give her a pig like they gave him, as it would suit her more. Reyna charges Aemon, but he easily shoves her aside, causing Bela to punch him in the face, and he quickly punches her back. A
Right
brawl
away.
breaks out between the children. Aemond punches Luke so hard he breaks his nose, but then the other children join in, and all four manage to pin Aemond to the ground before he eventually brings his larger size um, to bear and break free. Bloodied, he stands and grabs Luke by the throat with one hand while holding a large rock in the other to strike him with, and declares that he would feed them to his dragon so the bastards can die in flames like their father did. Luke doesn't understand, saying his father is still alive, at which Aemon turns to Jace and remarks he doesn't know, and addresses him as Lord Strong. Jace, who is old enough to understand, is so insulted that he draws a knife that he brought with him. He charges Aemond with it, but he manages to knock the blade from his hand and Jace to the ground. Turning his attention to the older boy and advancing on him with a rock in hand, he doesn't notice. This is Aemon. Sorry, doesn't notice Luke circling around to recover the knife, and just before Aemon can bash Jace with a rock, he distracts him by flinging sand in his face.
Mhm.
And at the same time, Luke charges from the side and slashes Aemond across the left side of his face through his left eye.
Nice.
Aemond is left screaming on the ground just as Sir Harold, and the other Kingsguard arrive.
Fucking brutal. Yeah, that's a great scene. But
Family
yeah,
Feud, buddy.
This was like the perfect like playground like child, like I don't know, kids these days are different. Like they don't go outside. They don't leave the confines of their house. But
Yeah.
our like us when we were
sure.
kids, like how many times did you go into the playground and somebody was getting picked on, and like, there was little fights, bickering here and there, da 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 da. This reminded me of like my childhood.
Yeah.
The little bickering and fighting and stuff. Maybe
Yeah.
not to this extreme,
Name
but like,
calling and like one
yeah,
thing
like
leading
stuff
to
like that.
another, somebody sometimes getting punched. Yeah, it happens, right? Or
I had to throw
shoved or
salt.
embarrassed somehow. So what's
I
that?
had to throw. I'm old. I had to throw. I was old enough that I had to, young and I go so that I only had the playground. So I had to throw sand in somebody's face.
Hmm.
That was the thing. That was a cool thing to do.
It's just this
So
scene was also interesting to me because it's like this is the first time that the kids are now the main characters. Like they're not just background characters or just
Hmm.
people. Like well, first of all, that they're kids. Like Game of Thrones didn't have a lot of kids. Maybe the Stark kids and stuff, but
Yeah.
like they didn't have kids interacting with kids all the time.
Also, they're
Um,
like so ingrained within like the tapestry of like you know what I mean, like the family. Like they know all the rumors of like the family because they're around obviously all this stuff, and so they're really kind of taking that into account like with these interactions with one another, right? Like the bastard name calling and everything else because they're around all this shit. They hear all this shit probably every day, that the bickering that goes on in their own families, right? So like it's just for them to kind of come together, it's going to be an explosive situation in that respect, right? Because there's and also the parents are also hammering into their heads constantly about they're supposed to be theirs and blah 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 blah. So like you're creating tension amongst these kids that they're now going to go off and like obviously
mhm.
this guy's pulling out knives and shit. So it's
uh, they absorb all that anger, the family's anger and tensions and stuff like that. And how does it come out in kids?
Yeah, because kids they don't know they don't know how to regulate. Like they don't understand. Like
They don't know how to their emotions. They don't know what they're
no,
feeling at that moment.
no. So, anyways, that scene was pretty,
sure.
yeah, interesting. So
Cool.
now this next scene was like, mm, mm.
Yeah.
So, the adults of House Targaryen are roused to the main Hall of Nine in the aftermath of the fight between the children. Viserys arrives and is furious with the King's Guard for not protecting princes of the royal blood, to which Sir Criston protests that he didn't expect to defend the princes from each other.
Hmm.
Maester Kelvin stitches up the horrific slash across Aemon's face and tells Alicent that his left eye is lost. She's even so funny. She's like, "Can
Go
it be
find it.
saved? Can he be saved?" And he's like, "No, the skin will heal, but the eye is
Yeah,
lost." So like,
yeah, clearly.
you know,
Fucking
horrified, Alicent begins to panic and slaps Aegon for being drunk again and asleep instead of defending his brother, even though Aemon snuck away in the middle of the night and no one knew where he was. But Corlys and Rhaenys enter and demand to know what happened, um, followed by Rhaenyra, who rushes to her more mildly injured sons. When she asks what happened, all of the children begin talking over each other. Aemon saying that the other children attacked him, and the other children saying that they were only defending themselves. Viserys shouts for silence, and Jace whispers to Rhaenyra that Aemond called them bastards. Viserys asks Aemon to tell the truth of what happened. Alicent angrily interjects that his son has been maimed and Rhaenyra's sons are responsible, so nothing else should matter. Rhaenyra says Aemon's maiming was a regrettable accident, but Alicent says her sons brought a knife to the fight, intending to kill Aemon.
Hmm.
But Rhaenyra denies, saying that they only brought it out. They only brought the knife out when they were forced to defend themselves. Rhaenyra says that Aemond made vile insults against her sons and that they are bastards, and questioning their legitimacy is the highest of treasons. She demands that Aemond be sharply questioned to find out where he heard these slanders. Viserys asks where the boy's father Laenor is, to which Alicent snidely remarks that he must be entertaining his squires.
Oh yeah, I bet.
Yeah.
This tit for tat, even
Oh
back with
yeah.
the adults, right? It's just
Great
like,
scene. Yeah, like this, like
oh, this
for it to
conversation.
for this kind of all lead up to this point in this episode, yeah, it was really, really, really good. Yeah, I
It's even
agree.
better, you know what I mean? Next episode, so it's even better than this one in that sense.
Well, this is now when like all the families are beefing one another. Like you got
So it's
all the family
attention.
members kind of, yeah. Now you have all the children fighting and everything else, right? Well, I do want to point out one thing though that just came to me right now with this scene though. It would have been nice to see like Viserys be a bit more of a father to his own kids in like any of these scenes. I feel like because as we know, Viserys is on his way out. I don't think we really got any of those moments. Like again, I think like what Christina had mentioned about there being those story beats that they have to hit on because it's important to move the plot forward with all that type of stuff. These are the types of things I think you miss out on with some of the character development on this show, though. Like they do everything right, like where it's still entertaining and you have these great scenes that they kind of put together here, but you miss out on the smaller scenes. I think as a result, like I don't feel like he's interacted with his children as they've been growing at all in any of these fucking show episodes where they've been around. Has he like I don't
I think when
I
Aegon was
feel.
born, he was like
Mhm.
really happy that Aegon was
sure.
born because he was this first boy, living boy, and he was, healthy enough and whatever. But since then, no, I don't think he has.
Yeah.
I don't think he cares because I think to him it's like Rhaenyra is his heir, so it's like he doesn't have to care what happens to his sons because it's like it's not going to matter.
Yeah,
But
I
he
just feel
also
like
looks at it like they're grandkids, I would think, bro, from his age that he's looking at it now. It's like, I mean, he's already had his own kids that are a certain age,
mhm.
and now
Well,
they're like their kids, you know? So it's almost like
I think
really grandkids.
I also think it's a conflict of interest because like he knows how Rhaenyra feels about how sensitive she is
Mm.
about Aegon being potentially like inheriting the throne from her or kind of thing, right? Like instead of her because he's a boy. So it's like I think Viserys knows that he has to protect Rhaenyra, but
Okay,
it's like if he sides with Aegon or Alicent's children,
right.
it kind of makes it seem like Rhaenyra is not legitimate, and it's like
Yeah.
even though she is, and he's already I don't know, I think he's like
No, you're making some good points, both of you. So you
he's
think it's more by
too
design than like just them not wanting to do that, right? Like,
yeah.
okay,
Yeah, I
okay,
think it's more like he has to protect the interest of the line of succession versus the emotional like relationship that he has with his children.
right. I just think like at this point in time, like what we're seeing of this character is that he just constantly has to be the one to keep the family together, putting out fires constantly, right? And I know that kind of becomes his most valuable asset, like what he contributes the most to, like in a positive way. These last couple of episodes before his way out is trying to bring everybody together, but it's all fake. Like it's all them just trying to keep up appearances, right? It's bullshit, all that stuff. They all hate each other, these people, which is what's entertaining about it, I guess. But
Well,
it's just
Yeah.
yeah, and it's harder too as the older you get and the sicker you get like
sure,
that. I mean,
sure.
to even keep it under wraps. I mean, whether he believes everything or whether he knows the truth, and I mean, I don't think he's a stupid guy. I
Yeah.
just think he's trying to, but fuck a guy is dying in a sense, like.
No, I think he's a great character. Actually,
He's fantastic.
yeah, he's a really good character. Honestly, like the more like we talk about these episodes, like he's probably one of my favorite characters on the show.
Yeah.
Honestly, yeah. Anyways,
So to continue in this scene, Viserys turns to Aemond and asks where he heard the accusations. Um, and after a tense moment with Aemond looking at his mom and back to Viserys, he says he heard it from his brother Aegon.
mm-hmm.
Viserys turns to Aegon, his oldest son, and asks where he himself heard it, but um, instead of blaming his mother, Aegon implores Viserys that we know, father, everyone knows, and it's just obvious from looking at them. Distraught, his voice breaks. Viserys commands that they are all one family and must cease this infighting. He orders them all to make their apologies and show goodwill to each other by command of their king.
Yeah,
And he says like
we are family when he like says it all to
yeah.
them. Yeah, that's the best.
He's like, I implore you as like your father, your grandsire, you know, your king, you know, like please, like stop the infighting. Yeah, this great scene. So you think like, okay, he's commanded it. We're like on the road to like ending the scene. No,
Nope.
no, no,
No,
The
come
worst is
on,
yet to
man.
come. Yeah.
no, no. Alicent is
Oh,
like, well, this is insufficient. You know,
Fucking bitch.
apologies will not restore Aemon's eye, but the debt can still be paid by taking the eye of one of Rhaenyra's sons, and by Luke's taking Luke's eye.
eye for an eye.
You know, Viserys is aghast, but Alicent commands Kristen Cole, who is her Kingsguard or her sworn guard,
Mm.
to bring her the eye of Lucerys Valerion. Enraged, she says that Luke can pick which eye he loses, which is more choice than he gave to her son. Kristen hesitates, protesting that his oath as her sworn shield and protector does not extend to maiming others of the royal family at her command. Viserys insists that the matter is finished, and from now onward, anyone who dares to question the legitimacy of Rhaenyra's sons will have their tongue cut out. Um, but that scene back and forth, she was like, "I command it. You listen to me," and Viserys is like, "Absolutely not. Like, Alicent,
It,
kill yourself."
have we talked about it? Like Kristen Cole and her are banging, right? Have we
No.
talked about that at all? No, they're not at all. No.
No, I
Okay.
think they just since he, you know, sucked out like after losing Rhaenyra
Okay.
or being denied Rhaenyra,
Mm.
him and Alicent just developed like a
Found a bond.
bond
Yeah, because
and like a
she also
friendship.
saved him from killing himself. Like I know
Yes.
that, but I had assumed, despite
No,
obviously,
I
okay,
don't no, I don't think I don't really don't think
I had all.
Alicent cheats on Viserys. I don't think she sleeps with anybody else. Like I
Well,
don't think it's that.
we know
We don't
that
know.
obviously those kids are his. Look at them, but like, but then I also was figured on the side after that interaction. I guess I just assumed that they were also hooking up as a result of Rhaenyra, like because it seemed like there was some jealousy brewing there previously in terms of like the fact that she like with Sir Harwin and stuff. Like it seemed there for a moment, like you know what I mean. She was a little upset of her who she ended up with, was her fucking father, who's now like diseased and stuff like that. Like you know what I mean. Like I think that she was not happy. She wasn't being fulfilled sexually. We know that, like she in the show, right? So I just
Yeah,
assumed that she was hooking up with Kristen Cole on the side. I guess I don't know.
I I think 2 things. I think, I never got that sense, first of all, but I think because
Possible.
no, I don't think so, like, I don't get it
They
because
never gave us
Alicent
any indication of it, though. You're right.
no,
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
like, from what we know about Alicent's character is, like, she's good, and
Loyal.
she's loyal, and
Yeah,
she's you know what I mean? Like, she's by the book, so it's like I don't think she ever betrays Viserys, I don't think she ever cheats on him or sleeps with anybody else, and I think Kristen is so torn up by breaking his vow, by sleeping with Rhaenyra, that he, you know, has a second chance at being a White Cloak, and he's like, "I'm not gonna do this again." Like, I think because they take a
yeah,
vow, you know, like, and I think he was so
yeah.
torn up about breaking the vow when he slept with Rhaenyra, I don't think he would do it again.
Okay. Yeah,
I don't know, I never got that sense, but
I don't
I don't know.
I don't
If
know
you
why I
check
assumed
something
that. No, I don't know why. That's what I'm saying. Like, that's why I'm like, have we ever talked about that before on here? I don't think we have. Yeah.
mm-mm,
Okay. All right.
no. Um, so, again, it's still in the same scene.
Mm.
So again, now Viserys has shut it down, and he's like, anybody who talks about Rhaenyra's sons will have their tongues cut out. So again, you think the scene is like done. Nope. Allison, in fury and grief, goes over to Viserys and grabs the dagger from his belt, cat's claw, and the Valyrian steel dagger, and
Yeah.
rushes across the room toward Luke. Just before she can reach him, Rhaenyra blocks her with and grabs both of her wrists. And as they continue to grapple, the panicked onlookers circle around them. Kristen tries to support Alicent, only for Daemon to intercept him as Sir Harold shouts at the other Kingsguard to hold the crowd back, including Hightower and Valyrian men at arms drawing their swords. Alicent shouts accusations at Rhaenyra, which has been bottled up for years. She has only ever done what was expected of her, upholding her family and the law, while Rhaenyra has always been free to do what she pleases. And exactly what we talked about, like, you know, Allison entered into an arranged marriage with a man old enough to be her father, while Rhaenyra blatantly has love affair after love affair
Right.
outside of her marriage, producing obviously bastard children. This is the last straw for Alicent, that now Rhaenyra can even have her son Maim, Alicent's son, and once again face no repercussions. Alicent shouts that Rhaenyra has no sense of duty or sacrifice, even as Viserys and Otto demand that she put down the blade. Rhaenyra coldly answers back that it must have been exhausting for Alicent to hide beneath the cloak of her own righteousness, but by attacking her like this, everyone now sees Alicent as she truly is. Alicent makes a final push to break free of her grip and ends up slashing Rhaenyra along her left arm. Seeing the blood, even Alicent is horrified at how out of control the situation has become. She drops the dagger, and the room falls silent. Aemon steps forward, and despite the injury, and his face looks gnarly AF.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
Despite the injury, he calmly tells his mom not to mourn him, for it's a fair exchange. He may have lost an eye, but he gained a dragon.
He saved her ass,
Oh,
is what he did in this fucking moment. Like, yeah, it was the smartest thing that kid could have done, was fucking put a stop to all that shit by kind of
Yep.
stepping in and saying, "Yeah, don't worry about it, it's cool." Like, because like that was not going her way there for a moment. Like, as soon as though she cut Rhaenyra there, like it was fucking like
Yeah.
lights out for a
She Oh
second.
yeah, the way everybody was looking at her, it was like, you
That's
literally just maimed the heir to the Iron Throne. Like,
yeah,
you're screwed.
yeah, yeah. That was
You're
tense.
screwed.
That was tense. That moment. Yeah.
Yeah.
no, you're not.
Anyways, that whole scene, fantastic. 10 out of
Yes.
10. 10 out of
Yes.
10.
Absolutely.
Cinematic gold, or, yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Um, the next scene, Alicent is in her chamber. She's packing up. She's clearly distraught, ashamed of herself. Her father comes in, and now he's talking to her, and he's talking about the attack, and basically says, like, this example is exactly why, or just shows that Viserys will always side with Rhaenyra over her and her children. We just talked about this.
Mhm.
Mhm.
And she fears that her reputation, um, is that it has gotten out that she's gone mad with grief.
Mhm.
Otto, who's filled with pride, says that, they're all playing an ugly game, but up until this moment, he didn't know if Alicent had the determination to win.
Mhm.
He also says that young Aemond was correct, because winning the largest dragon in the world, to their side, was well worth the cost of his eye and just the temporary damage to her reputation. He advises her to humble herself to Viserys and cite her grief as a mother for inflaming her passion. And in time, Viserys will forgive her, because it's all he can bring himself to do. But for now, they'll bide their time. The
Yep.
next day, Viserys and Alicent and their entourage leave on a ship back to King's Landing, while their children leave on the backs of their now 3 dragons. Um, Larys Strong approaches Alicent on the deck of the ship and offers that if she still seeks revenge, he can easily arrange some sort of assassination through his spy network. Alicent politely declined, saying that his help has not gone unnoticed and that she will have need of it in the future. And if she needs of it in the future,
Yeah.
she'll ask him. But for now, patience and discretion, which he accepts.
That guy makes my skin crawl. That guy. He's
He's gonna be another, but your boy, bro. He's gonna be like another
Littlefinger.
Sansa guy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he is. I mean, he is
He's
essentially.
even creepier than
He is
Littlefinger. It's like, I don't
creepier.
even know
And,
how that's possible, but
and I recall where he goes with Allison later
oh,
on.
I forgot. I
Yeah.
totally forgot.
So I already dreading having to relive that, but
And
he's
you
got
get to relive that one.
yeah, I do. He's got other intentions, that guy. Let's just say that for his relationship here, because he gets a little greedy. Let's just say that. Anyways.
Is there
So
such thing with this show and greed? There's no. There's you know, it's
Uh,
got nothing to do with greed.
he's
Come on,
taking
it's
advantage of the
power.
situation. Yeah. There you go.
um the next scene, it's the next morning, and Rhaenyra, she's being stitched up by the maester, and
I didn't even
Laenor
know they had
comes in.
stitches back then.
Yeah, well,
You know, some of it
um,
is it's cool.
Laenor comes in and he's ashamed. He's clearly unaware of what's happened because he's coming in and he's ashamed, saying that, he's fought dreadful enemies in war and he couldn't defend Rhaenyra and even his own sister's death, and he's just very apologetic and very like whatever. But um, Rhaenyra says to him point blank that Aemond called their sons bastards, and Laenor admits that he has failed Rhaenyra, that he tried to make their marriage work, and even though they both knew it was a sham, that he truly does love their boys, but maybe he's not loved them enough. Rhaenyra says that she did hope a few times that she and Laenor produced a child together. Maybe things would have been different if they had. Um, he also says that he hates the gods for making him as he is, but Rhaenyra gently insists that he is an honorable man with a good heart, a rare thing that he should not be ashamed of. Leonor says that Sir Carl is returning to the Stepstones to fight. There's a new fight happening in the Stepstones, but he won't go with him. He was going to go with him, but he says he won't go and said he's going to rededicate himself to Rhaenyra and help strengthen her claim to the Iron Throne. While raising their sons as princes of the realm, he promises to be the husband that she deserves. But Rhaenyra watches Alicent and Viserys' ship leave from the shore while speaking to her uncle. Oh, this is a new scene. Sorry.
Yeah.
um. Oh yeah, yes, this is a new scene. Sorry, they're now on the cliff there. Sorry. So, anyways, that scene with Laenor. Any thoughts?
I
And
just think he's a
Rhaenyra.
bum. I just think this guy's a bum. He needs to get out of here. I mean, what she does, but like, I don't know. I just don't think he's been very present. Like, I guess this is a sham of a marriage and whatever. You have other intentions. You don't even like women, but like, you guys made this pact together. Like, he should be a little bit more present.
Yeah, and I think she it doesn't say this in the synopsis, but she does give him a little bit of shit for it. Like, like while you've been out, whoring yourself,
Yeah.
so have I, but like you've been out and I've been left to deal with like all this crap.
So have I. Like
Well, yeah,
I,
but she's been
yeah.
left to like deal with
no,
like
I know, I
all
know.
the bullshit, and he's like, because even him saying like, "Oh, I'm gonna go out and fight in the Stepstones," she's like,
He
"Bro,
just wants to
like
leave and
our
go bang the
kids are
boys again.
being
Yeah.
called, their legitimacy is being called to question."
Yeah, like I think he's taken advantage of all of the all everything that this has brought. Like he basically he's not taking care of any of his responsibilities at the end of the day. He's benefiting from this whole situation, but he's not actually dealing with any of the responsibilities. Yeah, so it's kind of bullshit. I just feel like we've seen this happen like 3 fucking times now in the last couple of episodes. So I'm like, okay, that's enough of this dude already.
Yeah. So,
Got the life.
I guess after this conversation, and I guess Rhaenyra now knowing that she needs to make a decision or a next move, she's on the cliff, like on. I say cliff. Oh my god! Like I can't speak. On a cliff, overlooking the ocean, and she sees Viserys and Alicent's ship sail away. She's with Daemon, and they're speaking in High Valyrian. She realizes that the conflict is now inevitable and says that she needs him to help strengthen her side. He says that if only that they could only marry if Laenor were dead, and she says she knows how to do this or like what to do here. So then it kind of like the scenes kind of go back and forth, like, but um the next scene, Damon, he's in disguise or covered up his hair. He discreetly meets with Laenor's lover at the docks of Driftmark, and he remarks, saying to him that as a low-born knight with a lord's expensive taste, there are places across the sea where the name of a man, the name of a man was born doesn't matter. It's just how much gold he has. Carl asks what Damon wants in return, and he says a quick death, one with witnesses. Um, Rhaenyra with conversation with Damon continues. She does not want to be a tyrant and rule through terror. But she says tyrants only rule through terror.
Yeah.
Oh, he says tyrants only rule through terror.
She's Targaryen, so
Yeah.
She knows.
Damon says that the king or queen must cultivate love and respect, but if they are not feared, they are powerless. Rhaenyra says that she does love Laenor, but Damon says that if she loves him, she will set him free. She says
Let
their
him go.
enemies will whisper she was responsible for his death, but Damon says they want them to whisper. They can't prove anything, and it will make her enemies fear what she and Damon are capable of. Back in High Tide Castle, Damon discreetly sneaks up to one of the guards and snaps his neck. In the main hall, Carl angrily. Oh, this, yeah. So this scene is like, again, like they're talking about this and there's things moving in the background. But anyway, so this next scene, Damon breaks the neck of a guard. Carl angrily approaches Laenor, claiming that he has always looked down on him and draws his sword. Laenor draws his sword as well, and they begin to fight in front of Laenor's servant, who rushes out saying he will summon the guards. So they're still in Driftmark. They're in like the fireplace room. They're like fighting. They're fighting, or you think they're fighting, you know?
The fireplace room.
Um, yeah, yeah. I don't know what to call it. Throne room, I guess, in Driftmark. I don't know.
Yeah.
When the guards return along with Laenor's parents, they're horrified to find his corpse shoved headfirst into the fireplace, horrifically burned beyond recognition. Rhaenys howls in anguish while Corlys furiously berates his guards for allowing such an atrocity to happen. Um, Again, like then as this is happening, like that's I don't know. Any thoughts on this scene?
just a quick thought that I wrote down. I'm like, do all the guards like really suck at their jobs on this show? Because they, like, every time something goes down, they're like, What were you doing?" They're like, "I don't know." Like, we didn't see that.
Well, I think
Yeah.
I don't know.
Obviously, this
Like,
was planned. I'm just saying, like, which we come to learn here in a moment. But like, I just find that there's so many times where these guards are not doing their jobs. You know what I mean? Like, we got to blame the guards in some of these situations, right? As well, because they just seem to suck. Anyways,
yeah,
that's
I
all.
don't. Um, I don't know. Jay, do you have any thoughts
I
or?
thought it was pretty cool just the way to see it all play out, like in that sense,
Yeah.
you know. And I even
Yeah,
for a second I had to second guess myself and what happened because I
Oh,
watched it a whole series ago, literally,
yeah.
right?
yeah.
If you think about
So
it.
as this is happening, anyways, I'm gonna just skip this one little scene that is
Yeah.
interjected here. I'm just gonna finish with the ending scene and then go back to the. Anyways, just to finish this storyline because it's a little confusing what's happening.
Yeah.
Um, so as Corlys, so he's furious and Rhaenys is crying over this burnt body that is Laenor's, or you know, late in the night, however, a cloaked figure runs to the beach where Carl Corey is waiting for him in a rowboat, and the cloaked figure is Laenor Valerion. He takes off his head, and his head
Yeah.
is shaved, and he's unrecognizable without his silver dreadlocks. Um,
Looks better though.
Yeah.
yeah, well, because he's not wearing a horrific wig.
Yeah, I know. I was waiting for you to say that. I remember you talking about the hair.
So basically, what you come to find out is that Damon and Carl helped Laenor fake his death, swapped his
Hmm.
clothes with a guard that Damon killed, and then burned. Rhaenyra and Damon set him free from the arranged marriage he was trapped in, so Rhaenyra and Damon could enter into a marriage alliance with each other, and Laenor could pursue the life he wanted with Carl, adventuring in the Stepstones. So it's, this was like a big shocker because it's like they made it seem like he died, but just so he could go live his life.
This was the rare, like, actual thing in Game of Thrones where they actually looked out for somebody, like, instead of just
Yeah,
like, I think
just
that's why
killing him.
we had come to expect that that's exactly what was happening, the way that they're talking about him, right?
Yeah.
And then, like, what he meant was, like, literally let this guy go live his life because he's done right by you in some regard. So, like, let him be happy somewhere else with who he wants to be with. I actually really like that twist a lot in this, and I'm actually it makes it much more interesting because he's still in play now. Like
That's what I mean. Like, yeah,
he
it
still
could
has
haunt him.
rights technically. Yeah, that's when this show episode ended. I was like, because I can't remember what happens towards the end of the season. I'm like, did he even touch on this again in this episode show? Because if not, that's something that's still in fucking play in season 2. You know that, right? Like he's still out there.
So
Yeah,
that's
that's
the ace.
awesome.
Yeah.
That's
It
awesome.
is. I just don't know if they're gonna bring him back.
I
I
mean, if
don't
he
We'll
doesn't,
see
know.
that's
after
fine
next
too.
episode.
If he doesn't, that's fine too, right? But like, I just think it's kind
He's
of
got to
cool.
come back.
You think so? I don't
Well,
know.
after
Okay,
we
here the
discuss next
theories are
episode.
coming.
No, after the next
Um,
episode, we're gonna have to discuss this question
All
again.
right.
Just remember when we
Well,
record the next
yeah. Put
well,
episode.
a what do you call it? A pin in that one. So, all right.
anyways, just to finish it up, while all of this is happening and before Laenor is revealed under the cloak, there is a scene where Rhaenyra and her uncle Daemon they marry each other in a Valyrian rite ceremony on the beach with a small gathering witnessed by their children and a maester. Um, I did read somewhere that this marriage ceremony that they have is like of old Valyria. So it's one of those ceremonies that like not even the king can break.
Take
It's
back,
one of
yeah.
those things. Yeah, it's like one of those like old like ceremonies that like nobody can break. It's not like a regular
Piss off
marriage
the
ceremony
families.
like in like the Sept or something. It's like
Yeah, the way they ran off was almost like this was like when you used to hear people back in the day like secretly eloped. You know what I mean? Like all of
yeah,
a sudden they just showed up one day and they're like, "We're married." Like it kind of seemed like one of those type of situations where like they kind of just secretly did it and like and then that's I
it,
kind of like that how they kind of intersplice that with the fact that they let him
yes.
go off and find his own kind of way at the end
Yeah.
here, where
Yeah.
again it's just like, oh, so she does have some humanity in her. You know what I mean? Like I kind of liked that the way this episode ended in that sense.
Yeah, I agree.
I
But yeah,
I
so
never
that's
doubted
the
her humanity. I really didn't. I don't yet. I still don't.
it's
Not yet.
questionable.
Not like I
Again,
did with what's her face there.
well, but again, that's based off what we knew of the Targaryens in that
At
show.
that
Based
moment, yeah.
on this is literally the era we're
Part,
living
yeah,
in this show, right? So
yeah.
you gotta know, like, there's an anger there, right? Like there is, like, and like at the end
The
of this
gods flip a
this season,
coin.
yeah, at the end of
Mhm.
this season, I think we're gonna see that's gonna rear its fucking like, you know what I mean? Like I think
I
she's ready
forget the
to.
last two. Yeah,
I remember I know exactly the way this season ended because it's still like that was how serious the end was for me and like the way it ended. Like I think
well,
we're
I
gonna
mean, I
see.
focused on a whole series after this. Remember that?
Yeah, that's fair. But
Yeah.
anyways, all right, Christina, great job presenting that one. Any final thoughts, anybody here before we wrap her up?
10 out of 10. Love this episode.
Great
We'll
episode.
watch it again, guaranteed.
Yeah, great episode. Yeah, yeah, I know. I'm sure you will be. I'm sure you'll be rewatching this when we're done doing these before the new season comes out.
Mat leave is a long time, guys. It's a long time.
No, it was a great episode. I agree. I think this is this is kind of what this show at its highest form. I think these couple episodes that we're going to be doing here today, like this second half of the show, I think is the best like it can be, honestly. So I hope I have high hopes for the new season. We'll see.
Well, I think this is around the time that we were discussing. I don't know if it was, but we were discussing if I had ever watched Game of Thrones back when I had watched this the first time, right? Like originally, before I had
Right.
watched the Game of Thrones period. Yeah, and I think this is around the time that
That
you
you
had
were,
asked me as well, and I
yeah,
said, this is crazy, like because
yeah,
at this point, different kind of roll off than the other one in the first season, sort of, So it kind of,
hmm
it was just a yeah. I don't know. I really did enjoy this one. I think this is one that that'll keep you watching and
yeah,
keep you interested in the show for sure.
yeah. All right. Well, that all being said, then we'll wrap it up for today. Make sure to tune in back to this channel, guys, this Thursday. As I mentioned, Tuesdays and Thursdays will be the days that these episodes, these last few, drop for this season, which will lead us right into the start of the new season of House of the Dragon by the time these all air. So really look forward to that. Make sure you like and subscribe and all that good stuff. Thank you to Christina once again for taking us through the synopsis of this one. All right.
You're welcome.
Yes.
Have a good night.
Peace.
We'll see you all next time.
2 thumbs.